We start with the announcements, please.
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and the Wichita-Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. Copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and Planning Department staff reports on all agenda items are available in the lobby of this conference room. The Planning Commission's and the BZA's bylaws limit the applicant on a zoning, subdivision, or variance application and his or her representative to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the chairman may extend these times by up to 2 minutes. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please write your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the lobby. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. Please note that all written and visual materials you present to the Commission and the Board will be retained by the Secretary as part of the official record. If you are not speaking but you wish to be notified about future proceedings on a particular case, please sign in on that same sheet. The Planning Commission and the Board are interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available in the lobby. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct its own additional public hearings on these items. The decision of the BZA is final. Any appeal of a decision of the BZA is to district court.
Okay. Oh, yeah, Bill. I might just make an announcement that the only item we had scheduled for the Board of Zoning Appeals, 2018-00049, has been withdrawn. So if anybody's here for that, we will not be listening to that item today. So I'd like at this time to call the August 9th meeting of the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission to order. And we have some minutes to approve.
I can't, I wasn't here.
Let's take May 24th first.
I can do the first one. 24th, I can make a motion.
Second.
Well, we can't because the people that were here then aren't here now, the same 8.
We don't have a quorum?
So we don't have a quorum, so it'll just have to go in the book as what it is and unapproved.
Why don't we just pass it and then we'll do it again someday?
Oh, I'm
Do we have a
told that
motion?
we can't pass it.
Without the right people.
What would have happened if they had gone off the board? What would we have done?
Well, I mean, we use them as unofficial minutes. They'll go into the book as unofficial minutes if we never get enough people, the right people here to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's take July 26th.
I move for approval.
Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion?
I abstained because I was not here that meeting.
Okay.
Was I?
And Mr. McCain also. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we have 3 abstentions. Okay.
Who made the motion in the second?
The motion was made, Mr. Lawrence.
I made it.
Rob, second.
I did not hear that.
Scott, I made it. Harold seconded.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everybody here but one, and we can't approve the minutes.
We can't, but we can't.
Who are the 8 people that were here on the 24th of May?
I think I was, but I can't remember.
There's only 7 of us here now.
John,
Bill's
David, Bill,
gone.
Mike, John McKay, Chuck, Terrell.
Bill was the guy we needed in order to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. We have no plat cases today. We have one vacation item, 3-1, city vacation of a sanitary sewer easement on property zoned LC limited commercial. Anybody on the commission like to hear that item? Seeing none, anyone in the audience wish to hear that item? Okay, we could have a motion on that, I'd appreciate it.
Move to approve. Second.
Mr. Green made the motion, Cindy Miles seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Now we'll go to our public hearing items. Case number, zoning case 2018-00022. A change in zone from SF Single Family Residential to TF Two Family Residential, a 14.18 acre parcel. Anybody on the commission wish to hear this item? Anybody in the audience here for that? Like to hear it? Do you want to speak about it? Sounds like you want to know what's happening on it, right? All right, well, we'll hear that. Okay, we'll hear that. Zoning case 2018-00027, a zone change from single family to general commercial. And this is an expansion of a existing self-storage business. On your agenda, it says outdoor storage, but it's self-storage, which is correct in the write-up. Anybody on the commission wish to hear that item? Anyone in the audience here for that item? Okay, we'll take that by consensus. Item number 6. Item number 6. Zoning case 2018-00028. That's a change from single family residential to general office. Anyone on the commission wish to hear this item? Seeing that, anyone in the audience wish to hear this item? Okay. We'll hear that item. Okay. Case number 7, zoning case 2018-00029. It's a zone change from TF3 two-family residential to limited commercial. Anyone, you want to hear it?
I had a staff question, but my staff question was answered by the handout that we received, item number 1 in the protective overlay. My question for staff would be, do we need to open that case up so we can introduce this revised protective overlay?
Let's hear it.
Was it included in the staff report, referenced in the staff report?
No, that's why I had a
Okay.
question, but it's in
Yeah.
there.
All right,
It
well
was
then,
There was an
yeah,
amendment requested by the applicant yesterday.
you could make the motion to, as he said, to approve it, including the PO. We wouldn't need to hear it, just as long
Okay,
as
is
the
it-
motion.
Anyone here in the audience wish to hear that item? Okay, we'll hear that item. Okay, item number 8 is the zone case 2018-00030. A change it's a county zone change request from rural residential to single family 20 residential. Anyone on the commission wish to hear that item? Anyone in the audience here for that item? Okay, we'll take it by consensus. So we have
Motion to approve 5 and 8.
5 and 8.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Blick, second by Ms. Miles. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Kathy, can you take us through item number 5?
Mr. Chairman,
Item number 4. Yes.
because the lady just likes to hear what's happening, could we get a shortened version of this because there's nobody here in opposition?
Yes. David, can you shorten the version?
Yes, sir.
I meant David. It's passed by.
I've been called worse. It's okay. Oh, it's not coming in at all. Okay. Mr. Chairman, this is, members of the commission, this is a request to rezone a portion of this roughly 80 acres of ground that's proposed to be platted. We're on the north side of Pawnee between Webb and Greenwich. This is undeveloped vacant land at the present time. This kind of shows the proposed plat, and that plat has gone through subdivision committee last week. It will be coming forward, and the plan is to take a number of these lots. If I remember right, there's like a, no, how many total, Lowell? 192 new lots in total that are being created. And there's 26 lots in this location that are requested to be zoned to TF3, two-family, so that it would accommodate duplexes. This is real quickly, roughly what we're talking about, and this is the area that essentially would be where the duplex development will occur. This, looking north at the property in question, and this is the tree line that's on the west side of the property that butts up to the residential development to the west. A series of other photos from the area, if you're interested. For the most part, we're looking at vacant, undeveloped land. This request, as I said, is being heard, platting right now. I think the big issue that came for the platting issue, and the biggest issue that was discussed was a combination of questions about whether or not it would, let me get, whether any of these streets that are over in this subdivision on the east side would connect in. And I think the decision and recommendation was that this southern street might get a connection, but the one to the north would not. There is a connection going on to the subdivision to the north. There are, and also some other activity happening to the west. But for the most part, there will be a road come in, as you can see from the plat that they're putting in here. And it's roughly this area that's being proposed to rezone to two-family. The rest of it will be single-family. Annexation is in the works. It will become SF5, except for this portion if it gets rezoned. So that's the summary of what's going on. Be happy to answer any questions.
I wanted to point out the wonderful arrow that they have on the map that shows the direction that the picture is taken
Yes.
from. Did you all notice
Yeah,
that?
see,
See that?
yeah. Mr. Schiffelbein did that.
Great improvement. Thank you. Getting that done. Any questions? Yeah.
Annexed by who?
Wichita.
Oh, is this border Wichita then?
Yes, Wichita's,
To the west of it?
city limits are right here
Okay,
and
thank
to
you.
the north.
Okay.
So they're annexing in to not only get the SF5 zoning, but also access to water and sewer.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, yeah, hang on.
All right. The owner applicant. Here he is.
Good afternoon. Will Clevenger with Garver here on behalf of the applicant. I don't have anything really to add to staff comments. We're in agreement, and I'd just be happy to come back and answer any questions that anybody has.
All right, thank you. Who would like to speak on this item? And at this time, you could ask questions if you go to the podium. No, you have to go to, and you have to state your name and address.
I'm Rebecca Schaefer, and I live at 2233 South Cranbrook. I live in the adjacent subdivision, right, which is currently single-family.
Could you show us with the cursor up there?
Okay,
Where it is? where you live?
which, on here.
No, here,
Oh, on here.
pull this.
Oh, okay. I live right in this house right here. I don't know if you can, it went back. sorry. There you go. Yeah, I live in this house right here.
Okay.
So if you go up Cranbrook, I'm on the second block. My question is to, I guess, the traffic that's going to be coming out from this new division, as well as I also have a question about, is this a single duplex that's just one level, or is it two level? And I think that's mainly my questions right now.
I'll let him answer that in his rebuttal time, okay? Anyone else like to speak? Probably had so much fun, you'll come back again, right?
I've learned how to do it now.
Okay, no one else to speak. You have a 2-minute rebuttal? Or 3-minute, I guess. 2 minutes.
Why don't put the plat back up there and show her where the access is from the west, Will?
Okay. I believe one of the questions was the duplexes that are being planned there. I don't know for certain, but my best guess is that these would be single-level duplexes. And I believe your other question was traffic. I do know that there are planned improvements being put together for Pawnee Street. There's, I think, going to be a third turn lane that's going to be added. And then also with the subdivision plat, there's a proposal for a right turn lane or a deceleration lane to handle the traffic that's going in and out of that.
Well, you might show her where the connection is up there on Bel Air to her subdivision.
Yes, and this is the connection right here on the west side of our proposed Cedar Creek plat, which connects with Brentwood South.
Else you'd like to add?
And was there any other questions that were needed answered?
If anyone has a question for the agent? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back.
Move for approval, subject to staff comments.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. McKay, seconded by Mr. Klausmeyer. Any discussion? Yes.
In the subdivision committee, I thought we'd made a recommendation, we connect down at the bottom. Is that included in, is that wording included in on this?
Would not be in the rezoning, but it will be as the
Planning.
plat comes forward to the planning commission.
Thank you.
It's just a preliminary plat.
On the motion, you want to make sure that you add that in for consideration, right?
It's not necessary.
Not necessary, okay.
This property doesn't even actually touch that eastern border.
Any more questions? Seeing none? We're still in the discussion phase, I'm sorry. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you. It passes 13-0. And thank you, ma'am, for being here. Okay, item number 6. Dave, I guess you're up again? Huh?
Says him.
Says you.
Item 6.
And the other one passed by consent.
Wake up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. This is a request to rezone a 1-acre parcel of property at 12421 East Central from SS5 to GO General Office. You can see in the picture the location of this property. Here's 127th, and this is the exit coming off of the Turnpike and K96. Aerial photos showing the location of the property in relation to 127th and to Central. You can see from the future land use map, it's in an area for residential and employment mix. This is the picture, and I'm on Central looking kind of south and east back towards the property. This is the driveway coming off of Central. and the garage and the house, you'll get a better picture of that. This is looking west along Central, north from the side across Central to the development that's on the north side. Again, kind of north, a little more to the northeast. Looking more northeast, and you can see the new apartment buildings that have been built further to the east on the north side of Central, and then looking east along Central itself. The request is, like I said, to rezone just this acre of property. This was all platted a number of years ago as, what's the name of the plat? Gilder's Garden Edition was platted as, those were large lots laid out in 1923. So it's been about 100 years ago when that was laid out initially for residential development. And it's, as you can see, it's changed significantly over the years. Not adjacent to the east, but to the east, a large self-storage facility is existing on the south side of Central. So go back to the zoning and you can see to the east is a relatively large area of GO zoning. When these people came in and asked about rezoning the property, the GO seemed to be the most logical as we continue to see more transition. We're not all keen on trying to move the LC zoning further to the east or to the west along Central. So be happy to answer any questions you have.
Yes, John.
What is immediately to the east of this property?
Well, you have this larger parcel that's residential adjacent to it. There's a house and it's kind of an odd shaped ownership. A little bit of a, looks like Utah. But to the east of that is the mini storage.
Yeah, but there's not particularly a building immediately.
Right adjacent to it, no.
There may be a driveway, but, or a yard, but not a residence
If
itself.
you,
Any other
that's my
questions?
car and I'm actually in the driveway back to that property that goes further to the east.
Any other questions for David? Okay, thank you. Agent or applicant?
Good afternoon, Levi Bond with Caw Valley Engineering, 200 North Emporia, agent for the applicant. He was not able to attend today. We're in agreement with staff comments and be happy to take any questions at this time.
Questions for the agent? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This time, we'll go out to the audience for comment. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and
My name is Cleon Stewart. I live at 12431 East Central, and my house is directly south of this proposed lot. And so my driveway where this gentleman was at is my driveway. Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't know what's going in there, but what's in there now is trash. This owner has never taken care of it. There's trees falling down, and I don't know what's living in there at this point. But it does need to be cleaned up. So I'm not in disagreement with that, but I do want to know what's in there. We bought our home over 2 years ago. We've put a lot of money into it to make it our home and to make it, with the neighborhood, a valuable piece of property. And I do not want to see a quick shop in there, gas station. I don't want to see anything in there that's going to devalue my house or any of the others that are around there. So I would hope that you would leave this as a single dwelling for a family. The house needs to be raised and shoveled off, but something nice could be put in there for a residential house, in my opinion. So that's my question.
Yeah, ma'am, you realize they're asking for office zoning, not commercial.
Okay, office zoning is fine, but what's going to happen in 5 years, 10 years, when they want to sell that property? Is it still going to be office? Is it still going to, or are they going to?
Well, obviously, we don't know the answer to that.
No, you don't.
If they-
And that's why I'd
if
like to
they
see a
build a-
single dwelling.
It'd be like me asking you what's going to happen with your property in 5 or 10 years.
It's a forever home, sir.
I mean, as far as we know, unless a case came back to us, it's going to be forever office.
Well, can you guarantee that?
Well, it would have to be rezoned in order not to be something a higher use than office. You would be notified again, just as you were now, should that case come before.
So obviously,
this body.
I'm thinking that there's already a sale pending. Am I correct in that? That there's probably somebody already got interest in there?
We don't know the answer to that. We don't deal with the sale of the property. It's only the uses that we deal with.
Any other questions? Anyone else that would like to speak on this item? Yes, sir. Should ask her if she could guarantee it. Always be a house. It's gonna be-
My name's Newt Seglum. I live at 12331 East Central, and that's the property.
I can't hear you.
Okay, my name's Newt Seglum. I live at 12331 East Central, and that's a property bordering on the west side of this particular property that you're talking about. And I have 2.5 acres there, and there's a 25-acre lake in behind, and I own part of that lake. And it's a nice property, and I'm just not for that being rezoned anything other than residential. Thank you.
You, sir. Any questions?
How long have you lived there?
I lived there since 1991. We weren't even in the city at that time.
Thank you. 27 years. Any other questions? Okay. Anyone in the audience like to speak on it also? Okay, I'll bring it back for rebuttal.
As of now, I've not been informed of any pending transactions on the property. Bauman, the owner applicant, has not expressed to me what he is going to put there, but we did apply for GO. And as they were saying, that severely limits your uses. It's not like the limited commercial on the corner over here. So it's like office, medical offices are allowed, and I can show you this sheet after so you can see all the uses that are allowed. And the more intensive uses that are allowed in GO, you have to go through a conditional use permit, which also comes back through here. So there's checks on that. And other than that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Any other questions for the applicant, agent? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back for consideration. Yes, Mr. Warren.
For me, it's difficult to see, because of the amount of traffic on that property, it's difficult that there would be very many people that would be interested in building a nice home on a street like that. I think GO is the ideal type of zoning. There's already a number of commercial properties, hotel just down the street. There's a real estate office around the corner. So I think this is probably about the best use that we could come up with. So I would move to approve as presented.
Second.
Who is the second? Mr. Green? Yes, Mr. Dewey.
We have a map that shows the zoning of adjacent properties.
There. You have to go further to the west to get into the GO zoning. Immediately surrounding it is all single family, including north. But to the east, not very far, is all LC, all the way clear over to 127th Street.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, 12-1 passes. Case number 7, we get to hear from Kathy Morgan now. Oh, I'm in good shape.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. This is, let's see. Oh, you've got me there. Thank you. This is a zoning change request for, as you'll see on the zoning map, what you're seeing here is, where's my mouse? The blue outline is the protective overlay area. The yellow is the lot that's requested to be changed from TF3 zoning to LC zoning by the applicant. As mentioned in the staff report, there is an existing house there that would be removed, and the parking would be expanded into this area. Staff is recommending that the limited commercial zoning be denied, and it's more appropriate that GO, general office zoning, be allowed there, as that's the first zoning district that allows commercial parking. Staff also had recommended that the protective overlay 229, as stated in your staff report, be expanded to include this 50-foot parcel. The existing PO does not allow signage on the south and west building walls. What you have before you, I think Mr. Foster mentioned that, is that the applicant submitted an amendment or a request for a change to the PO to allow a building sign on the south building wall and not to be any closer than 50 feet to the properties to the south, which are residential. So let me go through the photos for you. This is an appropriate use according to our comprehensive plan. This is the building. It has been undergoing a revitalization. There's a new business in there. They've made some significant improvements to the structure, and as you can see, I'm standing in a parking lot across the street looking northwest. Oops, sorry. This is the house. This is the subject property that they're wanting to change from TF3 to LC, which we are recommending GO. And this is the parking area that they currently have. So they have an existing sign here. They would like to put another sign on this wall. This lot that is being requested to be rezoned is 50 foot wide. And as I said, the protective overlay language is requesting that a south elevation, a sign be allowed on the south wall, except for it has to be 50 feet away. How is that exactly worded? Within 50 feet of the south property line. The sign cannot be within 50 feet of the south property line.
Talking about the new property line,
Pardon?
with the lot included.
Yes, so the south property line would be, so the south property line would be here, so that would mean that no sign could be closer than this property line.
Thank you, Kathy.
And staff is in agreement with that proposed language change to the protective overlay, and the applicant is in agreement with the staff recommendation that the zoning be GO instead of LC. So with that, I would answer any questions.
Yes, Mr. Blake.
On that first photo, that when you were looking northwest,
Mm-hmm.
do they have a sign that's right on the corner, and then they also have another sign to the property to the south of them?
Yep.
Is that, you can have multiple signs on different properties that works for the same business, or is it, how's that work?
What am I doing here that I'm going the wrong way?
Do you have a sign
Yeah,
right
see,
there on the corner?
that sign is oriented on Central. And so this other sign that you're seeing here, those are already allowed by right with the limited commercial.
So signing code allows multiple signs, not just one sign per business?
It has to do with the frontage,
Oh, it's just
the
more
street frontage.
Okay.
Yes.
And then so an additional sign is looking on further down, but it's going to be on.
Yeah, they want a wall sign
Okay.
facing this parking lot.
So 3 signs for 3 different properties and 3 different locations.
The protective overlay addresses just the building sign. Wall
Okay.
signs are separate.
Okay, sounds good.
Or, I mean, ground signs are separate, what they call.
Kathy, we had this case a number of years ago, right, for the protective overlay. It seemed like we had some restriction on what could go on that property.
No, the protective overlay only addressed the signage. There was no limitation to the uses for limited commercial in that location.
Mr. Richards.
So Kathy, help me understand, they could add on to the existing building to within 50 feet of the south property line and put a sign on that building. So we need to be clear that in theory, the sign could be within 50 feet of the south property line should they decide to expand this building.
That would be true, but they would have to meet the on-site parking requirement for the use of the building. So
But if that's the case, I don't understand why they want to get within 50 feet. I guess we'll ask the applicant that question, so.
that was the recommendation of staff, having concern about the College Hill neighborhood and that this is right at the corner of the residential neighborhood and opening a door for future commercial expansion to the south because it's all residential from this building south to the corner at Oliver and Douglas.
Any other questions? All right, we'll have the agent or applicant.
Eli Bond, Caw Valley Engineering, agent for the applicant. WG Farhas here. Just quickly wanted to state my thanks to the planning department for meeting with us and coming up with agreeable solution for each of us. We're in support of going GO with the amended PO that Kathy outlined for us. I believe you guys should have a letter. It just reads that building signs shall not be allowed to face towards the south within 50 feet of the south property line. Building signs shall not be allowed to face towards the west property line, and portable billboard signs and off-site signs are not permitted. So the only thing we are changing is allowing a building sign on this face of the building, and WG's main drive for that is he actually has a tenant space that's just in would be the west half, the southwest quarter almost, and he wants to be able to make sure that business gets recognition there. Be happy to take any questions.
Questions?
Yeah.
Mr. Richardson.
So, Levi, why don't we say within 100 or 150 feet of the south property line if we're actually worried about this existing building?
We originally weren't going to put any limitation on it, as once it gets into the GO, it limits how much signage you can have on your buildings. The 50-foot was a recommendation of staff. That would ultimately be up to you guys. It would just make it to where if there ever was more development in this area and WG wanted to sell a portion of it off and someone wanted a sign there, they could, and just keeps future flexibility.
But we're essentially saying by approving it, we would put a sign within 50 feet, could be a lighted sign on the side of the building within 50 feet of a residential property.
It would be allowed, yes, but there would also be lighting standards on it and signage standards on it for being within that. Scott, did you have a comment to that?
Yeah, I might address the comment here. There are two different types of building signage that is allowed on a building wall that does not face the street, but also then faces residential. And there's pretty significant size limitation if it is less than 150 feet from the residential zoning. We suggested the 50 feet. That's the other standard that allows you the smaller signage. Essentially, that would be eliminating their ability to have any of that smaller signage, but the full-size building signage is going to have to be 150 feet from residential zoning.
And can that sign still be lit?
Yes, both of them can be. Limitation on the size with closer than 150 feet is a 15 square foot sign for a business.
So it would be 15 square feet if they got within 50 feet of.
They got closer than 150.
Closer than that.
Good. Any other questions? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Who would like to speak on this item? Been very patient. She got here early.
My name is Mary York, and the property I have is 421 North Oliver, so we're 2 doors down. My only question is fencing. Is there any fencing between the parking lots? Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Anyone else that'd like to speak on this item? Seeing no one, we'll bring it back to the commission for action. Oh, we got a rebuttal. I doubt if he has any, but we'll give him 2.
No further comment. I think WG answered her question. Thank you.
Well, I think we ought to have
For
the
the record-
comment read into record what your answer was.
Oh, WG Farha is in agreement to put up screening on that south property line of fence. Thank you.
Okay, David.
Scott, you may need to help on this. I'm curious, does the GO, is it going to provide for a landscape buffer between the two? I know the fencing, but
Between the residential zoning to the west and to the south, yes.
More discussion? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Well, it's got to be a little bit more than that.
Yeah, you got to talk a little bit about what we're
Okay,
recommending.
I move that we approve this project and include the changes in the PO number 229 and to have the property zoned GO instead of limited commercial.
Anything else?
Would it sound better if we said recommended to the staff the denial of commercial and the recommendation of GO?
Mr. McKay's making the motion.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that it's just more clear.
Yeah, do you want to state that we're acknowledging staff's?
That's all.
We're gonna deny
Deny.
the request and zone this general office and include the expansion of the PO 229 as submitted per staff comment.
Now, who's seconding this? Mr. Warren. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. 13-1, 13-0, I mean. Anything else that we need to talk about?
See you all Tuesday.
Remind everybody of the meeting on Tuesday.
Mary.
Oh, Mary's going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not adjourned yet, Mary.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to remind you of the Planning Planning Commission workshop that's scheduled at the Conference Center over at the Advanced Learning Library. It's Tuesday, beginning at 4 p.m. We've handed out binders that includes all of the work so far of the Urban Infill Committee and the consulting group. The two big topics Tuesday afternoon will be the development section and the zoning section. And the reason I'm handing it out to you now instead of the day of is so that you're not going in cold. I'd like you to review it because we really want a good discussion, lots of questions, so that we can really get this where it needs to be. So it's our probably one of the last times with our consultant in town. They'll be here again in September to discuss some investment and financing options, but this is your time with them to really work this thing over. So I'm hoping all of you are able to attend that day. We'll have a similar presentation on Monday at 4:30 in this room. This is when the Urban Infill has their monthly meeting, and they'll get a similar presentation, but they've already heard a lot of the concepts here. So the consulting group is bringing in their transportation person, their zoning person, Graham Smith, who I think some of you are already familiar with. And so they're gonna have some good people in that can really answer a lot of the questions and explain things thoroughly. So hope you'll all be there.
You've given us our assignment, so
Yep.
if everybody show up at 5 till 4, we'll have a quick quiz. All right, before the presentation. We're adjourned.
Okay.